Hello everyone, this is Clement, and I'm here to talk to you about Kubernetes. Now, Kubernetes is a rapidly evolving ecosystem for running containerized applications at scale. And at Wavefront, we have been no stranger to this trend that has been happening to a lot of the companies that we actually have worked with over the last couple of years. And I'm here to talk to you about why Wavefront and Kubernetes is something that you really should consider to be working together hand in hand. And the reason for that, a lot of our customers have told us, is that Kubernetes allowed the rapid deployment and management and automation and scaling and all of that, which are really good stuff with application deployments. But what come with that is the challenge of how to actually monitor a system or an architecture that evolves very quickly, right? Gone are the days that it might take days or maybe at least hours to be able to deploy a new application because provision VMs or you're baking new AMIs and whatnot in your cloud environments. But now you're really just tearing down applications or services, and then bringing them back up at a very rapid pace. At Wavefront, we've been working with customers in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years who have been, pioneers in this DevOps movement where, things are just moving into a containerized environment, and that churn is just, we ourselves are even surprised by, how teams are able to leverage this ecosystem, this architecture, to enable them to do very rapid deployments. We have seen customers that are deploying 20, 50, hundreds of times a day for a single service. And imagine if you have thousands of services, that amount of just orchestration is just staggers the imagination. And that's really one of the reasons why a lot of the customers actually came to Wavefront themselves. But before we go deeper into how Wavefront is the best tool or the best monitoring platform, observability platform for understanding Kubernetes applications, let me go a little bit into how you could actually use Wavefront today with Kubernetes, right? So Kubernetes is open source. It used to be, it came from Google, but it's now managed by the CNCF. And so Kubernetes itself has many flavors. It every year, every half a year or so, there's a new kind of the open source version of that. But you could be running that. I mean, that's something that you could just take and run yourself. But there's also, versions of Kubernetes that's running on AWS, that's EKS. There's the Google flavor of that's GKE. We are in VMware shipping a version that's PKS, which is both a cloud offering as well as an on-prem offering of enterprise-friendly version of Kubernetes. And then there's also other things like, for example, OpenShift, as well as things like PCF, which are kind of born from that containerized environment, but they're getting up to date. PCF has just announced, I think, almost a year ago that they're going to replace their scheduling engines with what is Kubernetes. And so there are many flavors of Kubernetes. And so one of the important things that you have to understand is you have to pick a monitoring system that allows you to be able to ingest that data into Wavefront itself. And so we're proud to announce that all of these offerings today have in their different shape and configuration a way for you to collect that data and ship it into Wavefront. We recently announced support as a certified OpenShift operator, and all of the other flavors of Kubernetes that you're running, you could actually install the Wavefront Collector, and you'll be able to get data into Wavefront itself. But let's say you're just installing open source Kubernetes kind of from upstream, and you're just trying to play with it yourself. The first thing you will probably actually do is to run the open source version of a time series database that's called Prometheus, right? And that's something that actually we observe a lot of customers do because that's kind of the de facto standard for understanding kind of the infrastructure metrics that you would be generating from Kubernetes in a way that either you explore it directly in Prometheus or use something like Grafana. What we have often run into with customers is that Prometheus is a single node. It's difficult to cluster or do kind of these large scale deployments, maybe global or regional deployments. And so oftentimes you basically end up having multiple Prometheuses, if you will, running around, maybe each attached to a single Kubernetes cluster, and you basically have a federation problem. The other issue is that because of how you have to manage storage, you would probably have to figure out, some sort of retention policy that progressively gets shorter and shorter, right? Maybe 2 weeks going to 7 days and maybe 2 days. And that's a good candidate, I think, at that point when you try to think about, okay, maybe I should really just offload this to something that is a SaaS offering that allows us to be both at a total cost of ownership compatible, competitive with running open source software yourself, as well as opening the door to a whole bunch of new features or new capabilities that you could have in your monitoring stack. So one of the things that you could very quickly go from here is, if this is step one, is you could then go to step two, which is to actually send that data directly from Prometheus using our storage driver into the Wavefront cloud, right? So that we would consider to be kind of the bare minimum that allows you to have retention that is 25 months, right? That's the standard on Wavefront, and you get a trial and try that out immediately. The other thing is you could get all of your Prometheuses and send all of that data to the same single cloud instance, right? We regularly benchmark our clusters to be able to take tens of millions of data points per second, right? And so that allows you to scale Prometheuses in that way. And Prometheus then becomes just a relay, because it is gathering data likely from different sources in your system, and you're just enjoying that visibility of all of your metrics all in one place, extreme level of retention, as well as a query language and very fast retrieval of that data, alerting, dashboarding, all the good stuff that Wavefront comes with. The next step in this particular journey is actually the Wavefront Collector, as I've said earlier. And that's actually a very nifty piece of software that we've developed that allows you to monitor any flavors of Kubernetes that we support. And what it does is it actually goes in and acts as a daemon set on all of your Kubernetes nodes, and it figures out all of the local information that's pertinent to each of the nodes themselves, as well as the cluster level health information, and pull all of that data in a format that we have deemed to be critical for understanding the operation aspects of Kubernetes, and have all of that information plopped into Wavefront, right? What you get with that is a single line install that you have. We work with Helm and essentially install the Wavefront proxy itself, install the collectors, install the daemon sets, pull all of that metrics, and shove all of that into Wavefront. What you also get out of the box is the ability for us to automatically detect and configure certain well-known integrations that we support in terms of packaged applications, things like Redis, things like Memcache, and all that kind of stuff that you might be running inside your Kubernetes pods, as well as any kind of Prometheus endpoints that you're exposing. For example, if you're exposing any sort of metrics that you want the collector to be scraping on your behalf, the collector itself will pull that data, will ship it, all of that data would then head into Wavefront itself. Now, the reason why you want all of that is that allows us to then have a conversation about what you really want to do with that data. And at the end of the day, you get very nice dashboards that show you cluster level information about how your Kubernetes cluster is working. And all of this takes advantage of the brand new V2 dashboarding API that you would have. And so you would allow you to drill down from each dashboard to another layer, and this is really just the beginning, because this is dashboards that we are shipping out of the box that allows you to explore your cluster kind of in a hierarchical manner. So you're going from maybe all the clusters that you have across your entire fleet. Again, Wavefront is not a single siloed kind of monitoring stack. All of the data actually lands in the same tenant, and so you could actually dig through all of the information that you have, alert on all of that information that you have, or even look at kind of the global footprint of your entire Kubernetes ecosystem. The other thing that we are really excited to be doing is to actually enable you to do kind of these guided troubleshooting, right? So I think it's not a surprise to many people that running something at scale like Kubernetes with so many moving parts is actually pretty easy to run into a situation where you need to understand what is going on and kind of the remediation steps, right? So this is kind of a brand new offering that we have that is part of the dashboarding system that we have developed inside Wavefront, which allows you to kind of have the ability to dynamically render charts inside Wavefront that tells you what we think are things that are going on in your system that you should take a look, right? So we call these troubleshooting dashboards. And it works together with things like alerts, which are now baked directly into Wavefront itself when you install the Wavefront Collector, and then automatically figure out, what to show the user. Do we think that there's a capacity issue? Do we think there's a problem with nodes themselves? Do we think, there's a problem with, just launching the containers? Are they dying? All those information are now then, fed into these troubleshooting dashboards, which allows you to have an at-a-glance view of, what's really going on. Because at the end of the day, monitoring is not just about, drilling through a bunch of charts and going up and down that stack, although that's important, but really to figure out, what is going on. Can I do some optimization? Should I be, paying attention to certain areas of the system? And we are helping you to surface those information kind of to the very top, right? So hopefully this is a very short explanation of how Kubernetes and Wavefront work together. And a lot of the secret sauce that we have worked, over a number of years is to enable this kind of high cardinality, highly ephemeral workloads that, very quickly change at a moment's notice and allow you to still have complete observational clarity on what's going on in the system. One of the stories, I'll probably end with this story, is that, we have customers who are turning down containers at a rapid rate, maybe tens or hundreds of times a day for a single service. And what you really need is a system that allows you to have instant access to new time series, because quite frankly, you're stopping to monitor individual time series, but you're probably just monitoring aggregates at that point, right? It's just how many containers are alive at any given time, what are my request rates, and all that kind of stuff. And that data is just coming in and out of the system, right? A time series may just appear for 5 or 6 minutes and then it goes away. And you just need to have a system that really instantly be able to see these kind of new series that are participating in your alerts and whatnot. And that's something that we've worked tirelessly over a number of years, just to make sure that any new time series that appears in your stream as you're sending that data to Wavefront, meaning any new containers, any new pods, any new nodes that are coming up in the system, instantly, within a second or two, that information is available in Wavefront, and the charts are updated, the alerts are checking them, and all of that information gives you the ability to very quickly figure out, is there a problem, where is the problem, and goes to the kind of the root cause of that and be able to remediate that. And all of that is something that comes standard out of Wavefront. All of the data is accelerated by our hyperscale metadata pipeline. So all of that data is whether it's application metrics, whether it is infrastructure metrics, as long as we can collect them, as long as your application is emitting them, we're able to visualize them and we're able to see them immediately. So there's absolutely no blind spot, even if it comes to new data, rapidly changing data, just explosion in cardinalities up to a certain limit, obviously. And having all of that data be visible and queryable, alertable, and actionable inside Wavefront. And that's something that a lot of our customers, and what frankly we think is absolutely necessary in a world that is Kubernetes. Thank you so much, and I suggest that you go to a website, try out the Wavefront Collector, or start with Prometheus, send the data using the storage driver to Wavefront, and start your observability journey with us at scale. Nothing to manage, nothing new to learn, nothing to set up, and just be able to monitor your fleet. Thank you.